back, everyone. This is Spoiler County. I'm your host, Kurt Sasso, and I actually do a show called Two Geeks Talking, but because Jay is such a good friend of mine, he asked me to help out with this particular interview with a very talented voice actor and, of course, a podcast host as well, doing a wonderful show called The Voiceover Coffee Shop. We are joined today by Andrew Morrison. How are you doing today, Andrew?
I'm doing phenomenally. How are you?
Doing good. Good.
Good.
You know, it comes down to passion when it comes to being not only an interview, but a voice actor as well. You have to have passion for whatever craft you're doing. How did you become a voice actor?
I had always been kind of an audiophile, if you will. I like listening to audio and figuring out how to tweak it, which got me my start with an audio engineering degree from the University of Phoenix. From there, I kind of just did it recreationally. I never actually dove into any kind of career path with it. And then one day, working at a restaurant, oddly enough, I saw this this advertisement from this website that said, "Get a job as a voice actor." And I was like, yeah, I want to get a job as a voice actor, thinking that it was a job. And so I filled out all the paperwork, and I'm like, okay, demos, don't know what those are, resume, none, okay. And all of a sudden, this price tag came up for $500. And I was like, I don't have $500 right now. I'm working at this as a manager for this restaurant. Like, my bills are kind of tight, but like the idea kind of stuck with me, and I was like, voice actor, like that sounds like something like I really want to do. And so I started just researching the crap out of it. So I started looking at every job forum I could, looking at every blog post I could, listening to other podcasts, listening to YouTube videos, because all these resources were available. And I started slowly kind of incorporating my way into the business. So I went and at the time bought a USB microphone, and which my audio back then sounded awful. I don't know how I booked anything. I started doing little indie projects that like I would find on different forums and on like different Facebook groups. And I would go find college kids for different art schools that were like making video games, and I was like, hey, like, I'm working on getting in the voiceover field, you're working on developing the video games and working on game dev stuff, maybe we could collaborate a little bit. And so I started working with them. I started doing IVR stuff for local businesses, and then the more and more I researched, the better my studio quality got. The more I was able to invest in a microphone, the better my marketing got. And then I started booking bigger and bigger animation roles and bigger corporate roles, and just started expanding my business from there.
I've interviewed a couple of voice actors in the past as well too. And what is the hardest part about being a voice actor?
The timing, absolutely the timing. Because it's a game of selection. A lot of people, I hear a lot of, I got rejected. It's not rejection. It's selection. The casting director has one job, and their job is to find who they feel like is the best role for that spot. They could have 10, they could have 5 that sound phenomenal, but they can only cast one. But as far as the timing goes for it, making sure that your auditions are there on time, or if you're working with an e-learning company, for example, making sure that like you could message them right now and they could not have anything open or not even be thinking about hiring a voiceover artist and do anything in studio. But if you would have messaged them 2 months later or 2 months earlier, then that might have been kind of the sweet spot for them. So a lot of timing makes it difficult. And then you'll get jobs where they'll send you an email and they say, hey, here's a project, we want you to do it, you have 24 hours to get it back to us. And I'm like, oh, I had dinner planned. Like, but mostly would be the timing. I mean, I love doing what I do, so I don't mind that it's not exactly a 9 to 5. I could work a 5-hour day one day, I could work a 14-hour day one day. It just really depends on my workload. But I mean, making sure that you're at the right place at the right time always seems to kind of be the most difficult bullseye on the target board to hit.
Looking at your career, though, you're very passionate about what you do, but what is one thing that you wish you had known at the beginning of your career that you now know?
I wish I would have structured it more as a business when I started it. Because when I first started doing this, it was kind of, I was looking for audition. I would Google where to find auditions. I would hop on some of the pay-to-play sites and just wait for an audition to magically hit my inbox. Or I even did the whole taboo Fiverr thing for a while. I didn't treat it as seriously as I should have. I was like, oh, well, I'm pretty good at this. And even though I had no coaching at that time, I think I'm pretty good at this. And all these jobs are just going to flow into my inbox. And even as much as I'd been told, this is a business, people, these pay-to-play sites, agencies, they're only going to send you what they can send you. But for the rest, if you want to make a decent living off of this, you need to be marketing yourself. In addition to studying voiceover, you need to be studying how to run a successful business-to-business operation. And I wish I had taken that a lot more seriously when I started. I think I would be, I've been blessed more than I could ever ask for in the past 3 years. But I feel like I would be a lot further in my career if from the get-go I started this as a business operation.
What's been the biggest surprise in the last couple of months for you as a voice actor?
You mean with the pandemic or just in general?
From a professional standpoint, what's been the biggest surprise? Like, did you get a role or something that you were really looking forward to or anything along that line?
I've had a big surprise in how effective my marketing's been lately.
How so?
Oddly enough. So I primarily do animation and video games. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to kind of dive more into the e-learning aspect, because one of my favorite things about e-learning is as I'm reading it, I'm learning something new. So it's almost like I'm a student again, and I'm passing on this knowledge torch to the next generation, whether it be an employee getting a job and they need the instructional videos to kind of show you how to do it, or whether it be K through 12 e-learning, where this is literally where our school systems are going with the whole distance learning movement. So I was like, I kind of want to get into that. And so I tried something at the beginning of this year, and it worked a little bit, but it didn't work exponentially. I was just sending mass emails to all of these companies, and I was like, yeah, one of them is going to line, and I would maybe get like 1 or 2 or 3 a month. But I started doing stuff with LinkedIn, and I started just kind of, instead of mass emailing people and hoping to catch a fish, I just started building connections with people. Like, what are people in the e-learning industry doing? Yeah. What are how is their world changing right now? What interests them? What can I bring to the table as an asset to them? And when I started kind of warming up my conversations into, hey, how's your morning? Like, it's a pleasure to connect with you. I'm a voiceover artist, and I see that you work in XYZ, and I would love to be a resource for you. And I've been more booked than I probably have ever been between all of the animation projects and the e-learning and the audiobook projects that I have going on right now. Building that human connection. I was going for the mass sweep, where I was like, okay, if I email 500 people, then 50 of them will respond to the email, and then 3 will eventually become a client. But it became so time consuming. I've started doing stuff with really, really big big animation companies, just by talking to the voice directors and the casting directors, some of which I'm not allowed to talk about because of NDAs. But I've got some really, really big and cool stuff coming out in the fall, and I'm super excited. And I never thought 3 years ago that I'd be here. I dreamed, I hoped it was at the middle of my dartboard, but I mean, it's been phenomenal.
It's great to see when you make the connections, especially in the industry that you're in, not only as voiceover actor, but also as a host as well. Those connections lead to interviews. In fact, that's kind of how I got started with my show, was it just conversing with people in the comic industry, in the web comic industry, and making those connections and being patrons of their work and promoting their work through my own, hey, you should really look at this. So LinkedIn is a wonderful opportunity for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad you're utilizing it to its potential.
Yeah. I was about to say, and then this whole podcast launch thing, because I never thought about doing a podcast. And so last year when the pandemic hit, voice actors have something called VO Atlanta, where in the heart of Atlanta, it's this big conference where there's voice acting competitions where you get to like actually act right in front of casting directors. There's agents there. There's every voice actor you've ever been connecting with on Facebook is generally there, from the giants to the person who's been commenting all your stuff. Everybody's there, and it's this big information session and party, and it's great. And last year, because everything was remote, it didn't exactly give me the option to rub elbows with people, like, which I love doing. I decided, I was like, hey, I'm gonna send some of my friends or some people that I know or some people that I would like to know or some people that I've seen on TV. I'm going to send them an email and be like, hey, you've got like 15 to 30 minutes. Do you want to like sit and have coffee over a Zoom meeting? And I got a lot of, well, here's my business consultation form. It's blah, 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 blah. I was like, no. It's not about that. All of a sudden, like, whether it be people that I connected to prior and never met them face to face, to people that I had grown up watching on TV, I was sitting having coffee and learning more and more about different sides of voiceover, because it's a constant learning experience. There's no end game to it. I mean, maybe eventually retirement, but I mean, it's this constant learning thing. As technology evolves, as the industry evolves, as you as a human being evolve and your voice changes, there's always something new that you can be educating yourself on, and it's exhilarating. So with sitting someone who's been, I do animation. I didn't know what it was like to walk into a Warner Brothers production, but some of my friends have. I don't know what it's like to have been doing e-learning projects or national commercials for the past 30 years, but a lot of really good friends of mine have. So all of a sudden I was like, well, I'm getting a lot of really good information with this. And the voiceover community itself has kind of taken me under its wing and shared its information with me. So I want a way to be able to give back to that. So I created this podcast sort of platform called the Voiceover Coffee Shop, where I sit with people like Bob Bergen's a good buddy of mine, Paul Strickwerda, Sam Quasman, who's Little Quacker from Tom and Jerry. Yeah. And we sit and we talk about not the 10 questions that they're constantly getting interviewed over and over that you can find any YouTube video of. Like, how do they take their coffee in the morning? What are they doing regarding marketing? What have been some of their greatest resources that have helped them to get here? What do they do to charge their batteries outside of the booth? And I really only meant to put it out in a couple of places, so that way, hey, friends of mine, here's another resource that I can kind of give back. And it got a lot bigger than I expected it to.
That's awesome. Are you using LinkedIn to push that as well as YouTube?
I post it on LinkedIn every once in a while. Most of the people that I send it to are through Facebook groups and things of that nature. And then the host site that I keep it on, they distribute it everywhere. I use them as my host, and they put it on Spotify and Apple. And now, apparently, if you ask an Alexa to play the Voiceover Coffee Shop, it'll do it. Nice. So it kind of distributed that for me. And so I started getting a lot of different people listening to it that I had never actually met or reached out to. So it kind of got a mind of its own. And then Steve Bloom has a Discord server for his students. Nice. And they got a kick out of it. So they started putting it, like, they made like their own feed for it. And so it just kind of like snowballed down, and people enjoyed it. And so it got, I don't know, I did my fair share. I didn't plant all of those seeds. I had a lot of help. We'll put it that way.
Hey, look, if someone likes something, they're going to share it no matter what. And the fact that it's being distributed to the major areas and other people are picking out means that, one, you're doing a great job. you're engaging your guests, you're making it entertaining to listen to, and people want to keep coming back to that. And that's the best thing that you can have as a host of any type of show. I've been doing this stuff for 12 years. Like, for me, interacting face to face like this or like this is the easiest way to connect. And if you're passionate as a guest about it, hopefully as a host you're still passionate about it as well too. And it seems like you're definitely coming across as that.
Oh, absolutely. No, I love doing what I do. I get to, I mean, this is a very, very taxing industry, but I get to tell people stories in an authentic and magical way. And I couldn't ever imagine doing anything else.
If you couldn't do voiceover work, if you couldn't be a podcast host, what do you think your profession would be?
Ooh. Can I still keep the audio stuff in there, or are we just steering clear of all audio?
If it's similar to what you're doing, would you be a DJ? Is that it?
No. I enjoy cooking, but I wouldn't want to do it for a living because I've tried that route, and I did not enjoy that. I would probably try to fund a coffee shop, to be honest. I used to own a coffee company. I started working for this little roastery. I just had like a little summer job there when I was younger, and it turned out to be like this whole operation where he was roasting coffee and like distributing it to restaurants. And so I learned how to roast coffee from him, and for a while I contracted him, and he would roast it to my specs, and I would sell it out to restaurants, and that was a lot of fun. And I really enjoyed that that kind of coffee shop community, if you will. Like, all kinds of people come into a coffee shop.
Yeah.
People in the morning, and the people that come in the morning versus the people that come at night, the people that come on Mondays versus weekends are just drastically different. And I kind of liked that variety, but like all of those people were coming there for like one thing, to just share this like this little cup of just wake up juice. Like it was like we're all sharing one routine, and that in and of itself is an experience. And so I would probably open up a coffee shop.
Cool. I just thought of that. I was curious.
Yeah.
But back to the hosting side of things, you know, as an interviewer, is there one question that you always ask your guest, and why?
Yeah, there are two questions that I kind of keep as my my staple, and both of them for different reasons. So when they first come in, because it is the voiceover coffee shop and I'm sitting and having coffee with them, the very first thing I ask is, how do you take your coffee? Because that gets away from, because we will talk business, but that gives me a sense more of who they are. Do they use an espresso machine? Do they drink espresso? Do they drink drip? Do they drink tea? How do you, what does your morning routine look like? How do you start your day? What fuels you as a voiceover artist outside of the passion that we all share for this industry? And so I use that as my beginning question. Towards the end, I like to ask, if you were to write a letter to yourself before you started as a VO, what would that letter say? And that's kind of my spin on, well, what would you tell future voice actors or aspiring voice actors? Because I hear that question asked a lot, and you get the same run-of-the-mill, well, you should do coaching, or you should get a website, or you should do this XYZ. And while those are all very, very important, I feel like the letter to yourself gives me a bit of a more authentic answer. It gives me more of a mindset answer, an answer that you can't exactly Google.
When you first started your show, who is your favorite guest currently? And what piece of advice did you take away from interviewing them?
All the people that I bring on are friends of mine. So, and I kind of approach each of them with a different reason. So Paul Strickwada, he's who I started the podcast with. He was the very first episode, and he is very mindset driven. He kind of gave me the mindset that I have today of finding your creativity outside of the booth and honing that and bringing it in. Don't just kind of melt away your brain just sitting on a computer marketing and auditioning and overdoing it. I mean, there's a lot of work to be done, but some of your best ideas come from outside of the booth by walking outside and letting your brain be free a little bit. Dan Leonard was my next guest, and he taught me a lot about the technical side of it, and he showed me proper microphone technique, and he showed me how to make a voiceover booth. And he's wonderful. He runs a TV show called The Voiceover Body Shop, where where they talk tech and interview people, and I learned a lot of my tech from him. Bob Bergen was phenomenal. Emily Neve is phenomenal. Emily O'Neill is phenomenal. Like, each person that I brought on for a different reason, because they have a different mindset on a different aspect of the industry. And so I kind of like have a piece of my heart on each and every one of them.
Tell me something that's true about yourself, but everyone thinks that it has to be fake. Well, it's more of you have a unique skill, or maybe they have a preconception about maybe your job as a voice actor that is...
that it's just talking into a microphone or doing a bunch of funny voices. I mean, I get asked all the time, "Oh, you're a voice actor? Do a voice." Like, I am. Like, I just use my voice. I mean, yeah, in a lot of character work, there's different ways that I use different parts of my throat and fluctuate it, but like in most of my work, this is my instrument that books me. Like, nobody else sounds like this. And so I use that to my advantage. And then I get I can be a voice actor. They pay you to do that. I can go buy me a microphone right now, and the jobs will just start coming in. And I mean, to be fair, I thought a lot more jobs would come in at the very beginning than actually did. So I get it. But I don't know. There's a lot of smoke and mirrors to what we do. I mean, our job is smoke and mirrors. We have to make something sound authentic and real, and we have to convince somebody to buy this product or do this PSA that really hits you and makes you want to go adopt this dog, or like do this crazy character voice that like convinces you that the character is not just something that somebody drew or created on a computer and added movement to. I mean, animation, there's so much more into that. Kudos to animators. That takes so much time. And I have great respect, but you get where I'm going here. There's a lot of training and work that goes into being authentic. And I guess the greatest compliment to my job is that I make it look easy, because that means I'm doing it right.
That's awesome. It's funny because you just touched upon the next question that I was going to ask. Literally, is what is the best compliment you've ever received?
I don't know. Because I take compliments right to the heart. So I mean, if somebody like I'll do a job, I'll do a voiceover job, and I'll be like, yeah, like I'll just put myself into it like I do every voiceover job that I do. And then all of a sudden, like most of the time, they're like, "Here's your check, thanks," or like, "Hey, like send us the invoice." Okay, cool. But when you're working with like independent producers, you get a lot of, "Oh my God, that was so good," or "That was exactly what we were looking for," or "Oh, dude, you are just amazing." Like I love, and I'm like, I'm blushing behind my screen over here. So whenever, like, just those little things, just kind of keep the heart warm, you know. I mean, keep the butterflies alive. And I mean, even though I get a high at the mic, knowing that it was received well is always an amazing compliment.
That's awesome. And it shows that you're professional and that you're talented in what you do, and that, you know, you're hitting the right notes for the people you're working with, which is the best thing anyone can accept and enjoy with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But what is an important lesson that you've learned in your life that you'd like to share with others?
It's not all about the money. I mean, it is, but it's not. So bills need to be paid, and that needs to be taken care of. When you're venturing off into something new, there are risks to that, and having a nice little nest egg to take care of those risks is always a bonus. But if you're going to go into any form of art or any form of acting or even any form of business, doing it the most authentically that you can, not being how much will I get paid for this, but can I do a good job at this? Not how much can I get paid as a voice actor, but can I be a good actor? Can I portray this well? Can I be authentic in everything that I do? Can I create something that 10 years down the road I'm going to look at it and be like, yeah, I did that. Like treating everything that comes across your desk like that. Not only will it book you a lot more, but it will give you yourself a more of a feeling of fulfillment, because you'll feel like you did a good job. You won't be like, I could have done better on that, but I need to hurry up and get this in because I need the money right now. There's a fine line that you got to balance between making a living for yourself and remembering why you started pursuing your dream to begin with. But the best time to start any dream is right now. I did not. Things take time to build. It could take a year. It could take multiple years. And I'm not just talking about voice acting. Anything you are passionate about and feel like you want to pursue, but you're like, well, I need this, and this to kind of align, and before I can even start doing that, there's always a book you can be reading, a podcast you could be listening to. If it's voiceover, a script you could be doing, if it's cooking, a dish you could be trying to practice with. There's always something that you can do to keep your skills sharp, so that way whenever you are ready to pursue that creative passion, you're sharp and you're competitive and you're on top of it, and the world will not know what hit them.
What genres are you most interested in working in? I obviously, as a voice actor, you're very broad with what you are able to do, especially with what I've heard from your demos and all of that, which are really awesome, by the way. Like you have,
Thank you.
There's only about 3 people I've interviewed that have a similar voice to yours in terms of the bass that you have, as well as your projection. It's beautiful. Like I could listen to you all day, truly. like just keep. Yeah,
I hope so. That's how I make my living.
I mean, besides the coffee
thank
addiction,
you. That means a lot.
No, but it's true. I love the range that I've heard, but from a genre perspective, what are you most interested in voice acting as? Like, if you had a choice, like all the voice actors that do the video games and all that other stuff, usually you hear that one voice that's like, this is perfect for action, or this is perfect for this, or maybe my voice could lend to those genres. What do you like?
Animation and e-learning. Those are kind of both where my heart is. Animation, I'm able to express myself a little bit more. I'm able to make bolder choices, and I'm able to kind of play a little around and a little bit with the studio. I'm able to be like, hey, here's what you were asking for, but here's my take on it, and here's my choice on the audition, or if I get the role, here's how I'm incorporating my personality into that role, and it's almost a sense of freedom. And then e-learning, I really like knowledge. I like researching, and I like studying, and I like reading, and I like absorbing knowledge. And so it's almost like, as I'm helping a company prepare knowledge to distribute and share to an audience, I'm getting a piece of that knowledge as well. And so I enjoy it. I'm like, like every time I do a new early e-learning project, I'm a student all over again. And it's like, I didn't know that, or I didn't know how that works, or I'm doing this for this company. Like I didn't know that that's how this sort of thing operates. And I'm learning about industries that I had never even thought to think about how they operate. And so that in and of itself is like an eye-opening experience.
What makes you feel inspired to be your best self?
What makes me inspired to be my best self? Huh. Give me a minute. You're going to have to edit this pregnant pause here.
Take your time.
The younger version of myself.
How so?
So when I look back at high school me or college me or just any other version of me, I never applied myself. Like, I mean, I would pick something up and I would try it and I would get super passionate about it for like a week and a half, and then I'd put it back down. Or or my fitness, I would do what everybody else does, where I'd start working out right after New Year's when all the gym memberships are $1, and then I'd put that down. But getting into this industry and evolving overall as a human being, this takes a lot, because this requires me to be hydrated in order to perform well, to be well rested, to build my skills and build my knowledge base and learn to read not only better, but to a point where I can read and act it out at the same time. It takes a lot of improv. It takes a lot of general life skills in order to continue doing this. And so once I started in voiceover, I started to slowly evolve as a person. I was like, okay, if this is something I really want to do, here are some disciplinary actions that I need to set forth. I need to get better at budgeting if I'm going to sustain this. My health needs to get better. I need to take better care of myself. And so now that I've gotten here, look back, I look at the amount of potential where if I would have just started sooner or done something sooner, it didn't have to be voiceover, just kind of got my head out of my butt and moved forward with something instead of just waiting for life to hand me something, then that kind of propels me. I don't want to be back at that. I don't want to be back to that state where I'm like, oh, well, I'll just wait for the next thing to come along. And I just feel unfulfilled and constantly consuming things, whether it be entertainment or food or whatever it might be, to kind of try to fill that hole and get that fulfillment. Instead, I kind of found that in learning and learning who I was as a person and finding that in friends and community and this wonderful job that I've managed to build, and this wonderful business I've established for myself. And so the more that I look back, the more that just shows me, hey, this is where I was and this is where I am. Where can I be? Where can I propel to? If these are the strides that I've made in that period of time, then 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, what's going to happen? Who knows? But I'm gonna keep developing, and I'm gonna keep building, and I'm gonna keep being sincere in everything that I do. And it's a journey, but wouldn't trade it for the world.
You know, I really hate to say this, Andrew, but I could talk to you for hours, literally. Because, well, voice aside, I mean, you're a very interesting person. I love your passion for your job.
Thank you.
You're doing. I love your interviews. I'm going to subscribe to your show. I'll watch the YouTube version as well too. But where can we find you, and of course all of your social media, for yourself or your voice acting work?
Yeah, voicebard.com or andrewdmorrison.com. Both of those are the same website. That's where all my demos are. I keep a lot of my work on there, my booking information. I keep a lot of up-to-date stuff on whatever I can talk about, what I am working on. And then every once in a while I'll put different voiceover resources on there, just because I like spreading that information like wildfire. The podcast goes vocoffeeshop.com or wherever you get podcasts. And then most of my social media stuff is just Drew Morrison VO.
You know, time flies. We've had a wonderful time. I've had a wonderful time with you.
Yeah, this has been a blast, man.
I'm going to say that ends this particular episode of Spoiler Country. You can find, of course, this interview on Spoiler Country's website. Tune in next week for another wonderful interview. I want to thank Jay for thinking of me to do this as a host, and I hope you enjoy everything that comes along with Spoiler Country's awesome shows and awesome interviews and documents. And they got a lot of great stuff on their site. So take a look at their works, and I hope everyone has a wonderful night. Thanks for listening and watching.
Spaghetti! And we're back.
That's right. We are back. Back in the saddle again. Well, I hope you guys really, really enjoyed that as much as we did making it for you. And if you liked what you heard and you want to hear more, you got to go check out Spoilerverse.com, because at Spoilerverse.com, we have a plethora, amazing directors and artists of all walks of life, and editors and writers. And oh my God, are you a lover of comic books like we are? Then there's so many amazing people from the comic book world over at Spoilerverse.com. And I highly implore you to go there and check it out.
Yeah, and while you're there, you can check out all the other podcasts on our network, like Bridges and Geekdoms and Funny Book Forensics and Haphazard Adventures and Nerds from the Crypt and so many more.
Misery
We put out
Point Radio.
episodes all the time. Go check all of them out. And check out all of the reviews and previews and articles we have going up every single day for you. Every day on Spoilerverse.com for you to check out and to read and to love and to like and to comment. We have a store link. You want to help support the site? You can do it two ways. One, go to our Patreon, which is patreon.com/spoilercountry. Or go to our store link in the middle of the site there and get a t-shirt, a face mask, a hoodie, something. Look fly as hell and help support the site when you do that, because we get $1 or $2. And, maybe you want to talk to us. If you do, you can do it obviously on all the socials. But if you go to scpod.us/Discord, you can join our public Discord server and come chat with us all day long.
I couldn't say it better myself, dude.
There you go.
You just mouthed out a ton of information at once. And really, I hope you guys enjoy what you're hearing, because we're working our butts off to bring it to you.
We are.
I guess there's only one left thing. Yeah, I'm going to go with it. There's only one left thing left to do.
What's that?
In oceans of podcasts,
We are Cthulhu.
as Cthulhu compels you to
Spaghetti. Open the mind.
and read more.
Spaghetti.